Okay, do you ever get overwhelmed with all the different content you make? Yes. Next question. Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, please take time to subscribe down below and hit that little bell button so you don't miss any of my content that I put out of all 2022. All of 2022, I will be putting out a new video every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so please make sure that you check it out. And if you came back, thank you. Today we're going to be doing a question and answer. I thought it'd be great to kick off the new year with getting to know me a little bit better. I asked you on my Instagram at I am Camille Smith. I am Camille Smith on literally all socials: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube at I am Camille Smith. So please follow me on all my socials. But I asked on my Instagram questions to answer for this Q&A. So let's do it. I will say that I don't really like Q&As that people aren't doing anything, so I am going to be doing my favorite thing, which is eating, and I'm going to be eating my favorite thing, which is Chipotle. If you don't know that, I literally eat Chipotle, like, if I'm being honest, like 3 times a week. So if there's any Chipotle reps watching this, hit my line. I got myself a bowl. I normally get myself a burrito whenever I go, but I thought for the Q&A it might be easier to eat a bowl. We're gonna see. I also get myself chips, of course. And if you did not know, you need to get the vinaigrette whenever you go to Chipotle. It is literally so good. It's actually for their salads, but it will change your life, I promise you. I got my entire family hooked to the salad dressing. For some reason, I feel like when you eat Chipotle, it just tastes better when you have the forks that they have. I don't know if you guys feel that way. But this is my bowl. My Chipotle order based off of the store is I get either white or brown rice, depending on whether I'm feeling a little healthy, you feel me? I get chicken, I get queso, then I get hot salsa, sour cream, corn, and cheese. I used to get guac. I do sometimes, depending on if I have like rewards or whatever. But again, this one was free. If you don't use the Chipotle app and you eat Chipotle, you're playing yourself. So I would download that. But again, Chipotle, hit me up. Also, I mix mine first. I'm gonna get the salad dressing. Pour that all over the whole thing. Feels me? Then mix that up. Got queso on myself. Okay, so to give y'all a very like bare bones about myself, if you are new at all, I'm Camille Smith. My name is Camille Smith. I am 23. I recently turned 23 December 1st, so I'm a Sag Sun, a Taurus Moon, and a Sag Rising, so I'm very fiery. I graduated from Villanova University in May of 2020 with my Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering with minors in Biochemical Engineering and Ethics. I like to add the minors because it took a lot out of me to get those two. And currently I work at a pharmaceutical company. I started working there in July of 2020, so I've been working there for about 1.5 years now, which is kind of crazy now that I'm thinking about it. But anyway, let's just get into it. Let's just jump into it, okay? So question 1, what are your goals for 2022? Anything exciting planned? Goals for 2022. This is probably a good question to start. Bare bones, my goals will always be associated with me improving myself. Self-improvement is like super important. I actually struggle with almost like feeling stagnant when I'm not planning to do things, when I'm not planning things to improve myself in different areas. I also want to start therapy this year. For my birthday, I'm actually gifting myself a therapist. I've never done therapy before, but I think it would be really cool because I've been going through a very transformative time the past 1.5 years, and then also with COVID on top of that too, and I just feel like it'd be really cool. So I'm in the process of getting a therapist and starting that, but I'm super excited for 2022 and everything that comes with it. Gotta get a chip like that. Next question. What advice would you give to someone afraid to start content creation? Start. Just start. I think we're so used to like instant gratification with things, and like that makes sense like based off of like technology in general, but like with content creation it's really just important to make things that you really like, and the audience or the following of the platform in general that you're seeking or you would like will come. You know, create the content that you want and then people will follow suit. The right people are going to find your content. So I feel like that's like the best advice that I would have. What apps do you use to edit your photos? I use the actual photo app. This is a tip for people that are starting content creation that care about the aesthetic of their feed. You should create an album in like your photo app. If you have an iPhone, create an album and you can put in photos into that album and like rearrange them depending on how you want your feed to look. That's actually what I do. So I use a photo app for editing stuff. Sometimes if I want to change like exposure or stuff like that, like small things. I use Lightroom. I have a preset. If you look at my Instagram feed, brown is like my favorite color, browns and neutrals. So I try to have like a cohesive, you know, look to my feed. So the way that I achieve that is I have a preset that I use in Lightroom. Then I will use VSCO, VSCO, to just do like some very minimal. And then lastly, I use Lensa, and I just kind of like there's like an auto button that you can choose. Next question, how do you keep your feed so cohesive? Using that preset. I literally use that preset for every single photo. So regardless, I feel like some content creators, regardless of what they're shooting, they'll wear like the same colors. I like to wear whatever I want, but then again put that preset over it, so then again it looks like cohesive. So regardless of whether like all the colors are matching, all the photos are edited the same. Would you ever move to another country? Yes, I technically did. My sophomore year of college, second semester, I studied abroad in Rome for 6 months, and I would 100% do that again. I also just finished Emily in Paris, and I literally started looking up flights to Paris. So short answer, yes. Okay, I'll probably end up making a whole video about this, but this question says, how do you plan and budget for your trips? So if you're new, I travel a lot. That is something that I do in my pastime. I am a Sag, so like I love traveling. And I want to say in 2021, I traveled to Ithaca, New York, Los Cabos, Mexico, Atlanta, Georgia, Charlotte, North Carolina, August, what did I do in August? Vegas, Las Vegas, Miami, Panama City, Panama, and Puerto Rico. So that's 8 places. And I, of course, have a 9-to-5. I work at a pharma company. So how do I plan trips? I am constantly thinking about traveling. I don't really have like a quote unquote method to my madness. Like I use Skyscanner to look up cheap flights. I have like a whole list of places that I want to go. I'm always on Airbnb's website, and I think I've kind of made a brand for myself inadvertently, I guess, that like now when my friends want to go places, I'm the first person that they call to talk about it. As for budgeting trips, I also don't have a legitimate method to my madness, but I will say that one of my friends a few years ago told me that you kind of have to choose what you're going to invest in. So like when I started working, like taking trips is really, really important to me. It's a really good way for me to, you know, center myself and like give myself a break from, you know, the monotony of just adulthood and like everyday life. So I know that like going on trips is super important. So when I, you know, get paid, I put away, you know, a certain amount of money. I put away money so that when opportunities come, I have money that I've already just put away, even if I don't have something necessarily that I am like saving for, if that makes sense. This upcoming year, I do hope to legitimately budget, money for it. Be more actually like intentional about saving money for trips. But at least last year, it was just very much get paid, distribute the money associated with like my actual bills that I have to pay, and then whatever's left over, put some away for, those spontaneous things that I do, like trips. What's something I would tell my younger self? I feel like I would tell myself a lot. One, that those kids that are bullying you in middle school are simply insecure and they're taking it out and projecting it on you. Being Black is the best thing that has ever happened to you. And like, you are going to feel self-love every day. I think like now that I have worked on like my self-confidence, like I legitimately look at myself in the mirror and I like love the person physically and mentally, emotionally that looks back at me. And like middle school me, I feel like would have never dreamt that that would have been a thing. To not listen to people saying that you can't be an engineer. They don't know what they're talking about. Just because it's hard for them doesn't mean that it's going to be hard for you. Or even if it is hard for you, doesn't mean that you'll, give up the way that they did. I feel like a lot of things boil down to people project onto other people, whether that's consciously or subconsciously. And I feel like I used to take everything so personally when the majority of things that people say have nothing to do with you. So yeah, that's probably what I would say. Okay, do you ever get overwhelmed with all the different content you make? Yes. Next question. I'm kidding. For sure, I definitely get overwhelmed. I think I get overwhelmed for two reasons. One, because I want my content to impact people. So like, I want my content to be impactful. Every single post that I make, I want it to be impactful. I want someone to be able to, save it, refer back to it, to take something away from it. Whether that be like a tip for your hair, or learning something about your skin, or just like understanding that you can travel and, have a 9-to-5. Like, I want people to actually take things away. So it gets overwhelming because every piece of content that I put out, I want it to be impactful. And then two, I make a lot of different types of content, so keeping track of it, that's another goal that I have for 2022, is just being better at time management and like keeping track of the different forms of content that I put out. So I have my Instagram, I have my YouTube, I also have a podcast, the Being Black Pod, so like recording episodes. I also have a food Instagram with my friend Chi Chi, so like, going to restaurants, being able to record, but also being cognizant of money. So it does definitely get overwhelming. And I started using Notion. Oh my gosh. I started using Notion, which is this app, and I'm like very list oriented. So I've been able to literally condense all of my lists into one app, and I'm on the app every single day. It's the best thing ever. What made you start your podcast? Well, let me tell y'all a story. So during the end of my senior year of college, we were all at home. We were sent home because of COVID. And at that time, there were a lot of protests in the United States, a lot of televised police brutality. I say televised just because police brutality has been happening. It's been a thing, but now with media, coverage and like the influence of capitalism, like media sources are trying to be the first, to break a story, and trying to cover the entire story. So just seeing like Black people dying, like people that look like me dying all the time, I went through a very, very, very emotionally raw period. And even though it technically was not my podcast as what it is now, that was kind of the start of what my podcast is, like what the point of it was. So I started actually doing a series called Being Black, an IGTV series. So I made a video about being Black at a PWI, a predominantly white institution, being Black in STEM, and people, were responding really well to it. Like, they were like, wow, like I didn't know that this was something that you had to think about, da da da. super cool. Being Black and dealing with social unrest, you know, dealing with seeing the murder of George Floyd, the murder of Breonna Taylor, seeing that, you know, how as a Black person, you know, have I been trying to deal with it? And then it slowly started to evolve. You know, I felt like there was something more that I could have been doing. I talked to my friends, I talked to my loved ones, and they were like, you know, why don't you make it something? Why don't you make it a YouTube, you know, series? Super afraid of YouTube. super afraid of YouTube. And I was like, like, I don't know. But by the beginning of December in that was my Chipotle app. Anyway, the beginning of December last year, I took a leap of faith and I started a podcast called the Being Black Pod. Initially it was Being Black with Camille Smith, but I just thought, like, I was calling it the Being Black Pod, like, to people. So I was like, okay, I should be consistent with the name. And I started having guests on. And last year I think I did 26 episodes, I believe, talking about being Black in predominantly white spaces, being Black in media, being Black figuring out skincare, being Black and a breast cancer survivor, being Black and a historian, being Black and a creator, like a bunch of different things, and just how being Black, you know, shapes and affects our day-to-day lives. So my hope for the podcast was that it would give Black people just a space to talk, you know, have dialogues, learn about one another, because all Black people are not the same. We are not a monolith. And then also give non-Black people a chance to listen to Black people's experiences, especially given that a lot of the time those non-Black people won't necessarily experience some of the things that we do. So yeah, I'll say that was kind of the point, the reason behind, you know, starting the podcast, was just to have dialogues, just to elicit empathy, to better understand ourselves individually so we can understand ourselves better as a collective. How do you balance being a content creator with your job? I don't. That is a goal for this year, to get better at it. For content creating, it's been more of like impulse creating, so I guess that's like batch creating. I wasn't doing it intentionally though, but when I have an idea, creating the content, you know, creating that, you know, when I have the idea, or if I can't, you know, writing it down, making sure that I don't forget things. As I was getting used to content creating and like actually doing partnerships with brands, I would actually record myself while I was doing stuff. So like I do my skincare routine every day, so like recording myself, I know I'm going to be doing my skincare routine, so just record myself doing my skincare routine. When I wash my hair, you know, recording myself wash my hair, things of that nature. So trying to make recording or creating less of like a separate thing and like just incorporating it into my life. Like, okay, I'm already going to be doing this, so like might as well just record. But it just be vibes sometimes. It just be straight vibes. I'm doing it though. Ooh. This is good. Okay, so as a woman in STEM, what's something you experienced at work that you didn't expect? I could think about that. I'm gonna take this time to eat more. So something I didn't expect was that my coworkers would actually be friends with one another. During my undergrad, a lot of my professors were trying to like push this idea that like your coworkers are your coworkers, your friends are your friends. You should not mix the two. You didn't come there to make friends. You came there to do your job and go home. And I see like, you know, some merit in that, you know, like you shouldn't necessarily tell your business at work because your personal things can haunt you in your personal life and your professional life, and like you don't necessarily want that. But when I came in, everybody was actually friends with one another, and that was just something that was super cool and refreshing to see. Very positive surprise, but definitely a surprise. If money was not a factor, what would you do with your life? Travel. Everywhere. All the time. Honestly, I do think I would still do something with like science or like skincare. I would definitely still create content. Like what I do, and I'm so blessed, like what I do I genuinely enjoy. Even though like I'll get like annoyed with it like, occasionally, I'm doing exactly what I said I would and what I still want to do. I hope everybody's okay. What's common advice that you completely disagree with? Academic and personal. Academic advice. Academically, do what you're good at. I don't agree. Nothing in chemical engineering came like innately to me. But if I allow that to deter me, I wouldn't be an engineer, let alone in the job that I am, as happy as I am. Sometimes doing the more challenging thing is just better for character development, for learning, just things of that nature. I feel like only going with things that you're good at or come easy to you just isn't positive. And that also goes for your personal life too. All growth happens outside of your comfort zone. So doing things that always come easy to you or that are easy to, you know, maintain or obtain, it doesn't really do anything for you. When I went to Rome, I didn't speak any Italian, and that was like the most, I think to date, the most uncomfortable I've ever been in a space before. But I literally learned so much, and I transformed as a person. Like, I feel like people often make fun of, you know, study abroad kids and like, like it was like the best time of my life, but it genuinely was. I learned so much as I first came out of the country, and again, it was so uncomfortable. I cried so much the first 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I'll tell you guys about that eventually, but no. So academic, don't only stick to things that are you're good at, I'll say. Personal, don't only do things that come easy to you, because you'll never grow. You will remain stagnant. You won't do anything with your life. And I don't think anyone should be okay with that, personally. What was the best decision that you made in 2021 and why? This is gonna be cheesy. If India, if you watching this, don't text me about this. But I would say going to Atlanta with India. At that point, I literally did not know her. I met her one time over tacos, and we had already booked the flights. Going to Atlanta with India to meet Nettie, another girl at that point I did not know, both Black women in STEM, and just choosing to experience life. And last question, the moment you knew you wanted to be a creator? I don't really know. Yes, I do. That was a lie. I created a video. I had an engineering series, and I created a video about how I failed a class during undergrad. And that was one of the more difficult videos I've ever put out, solely because I had a very unhealthy relationship with my grades in high school, and then like going into college and like the remnants of that. And putting out that video, and like at that point, like there were more Black women in STEM like following me, and just people in STEM in general following me. And the positivity that I received after making that video, just like the kind words, and like my love language is words of affirmation. So I can't even explain to you how it felt. But like seeing how many people were relieved to see that like the internet is so easy to only post about your highlights. And I post my highlights too, but I actively try to post, I'll say lowlights to be opposite of that, but like post like the reality of things. When I failed that class, I didn't tell any of my friends that were in my major because I was ashamed of it. But like looking back on it now, you know, I still graduated on time, you know, I still got a job. And there's people that fail and, you know, they can't graduate on time or can't graduate when they expect, but they still end up doing okay. They still end up like being fine. Success is not a straight line. And I think I realized I wanted to be a creator when people responded well to me sharing something that was more vulnerable, and seeing how helpful it was to people that were struggling through a class or thinking about dropping a class or withdrawing because they were struggling. So I think that was kind of a pivot point that I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I really appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, I'm gonna be putting out a video every single week in 2022 on Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You know, later in the year for like December, I still might do like the 12 Days of Beauty or Vlogmas or whatever the case might be. I'm super excited. You know, I made this investment in my camera and I'm just very, very excited to see, you know, what this year will bring, in creating, you know, a little space on YouTube, a little corner on the internet, if you will. So I really, really appreciate it. Again, if you did not subscribe at this point, please subscribe down below. Hit the bell button so you don't miss videos Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will see you next week for a vlog. Bye.